All right. Well, if you looked at the title of this video or you looked at the thumbnail, you already know what this is, but looking at this box, you can probably guess pretty well what this is. This is from James and Company over on AAPK, all about pocket knives. I don't remember if it's .com or .net or whatever, but if you look up AAPK or all about pocket knives, it should come up, and there's a store on there, and there's a guy on there. His company is called James and Company, and he sells a lot of English knives to those of us that live in the United States for reasonable prices, which is kind of cool because unfortunately, the cool thing about some of the Sheffield knives, particularly A. Wright and Son and I brand German. What am I thinking of? Taylor's Eyewitness. Um, the thing about those two companies is they make a good knife that's also very affordable, which isn't something that we really have over here. And the closest thing I think we have to a really good made affordable knife is Bear and Son, and they still drop the ball sometimes. Um, so it's cool to see knives like this. But anyway, I got another Arthur Wright and Son Barlow, a Arthur Wright and Son Lambfoot Barlow in ebony. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hey, Wiz, you already have one of those. And you would be right, but these are subtly different, as I will point out here. So if you look at their handle shapes here, this one here on the left, the one that I just got, has a different handle shape. It has the standard um, Arthur Wright and Son Barlow shape where it kind of swells out at the bottom here. And then this one has like a normal, regular Barlow shape where it's just kind of like, you know, straight the whole way down and then just round at the bottom. Um, So, this is more of a standard Barlow shape, other than, of course, the bolster, which isn't as long as an American Barlow. That's just something that Arthur Wright and Son does. They make their Barlows with a little bit shorter bolster, but compared to their regular bolsters, this is an elongated bolster. It's just not as elongated as some people think a bolster for a Barlow needs to be. I'm not super picky about that kind of stuff, so this is a Barlow knife. You can argue with me if you want to. That's fine. It's a Barlow, and this is a Lambfoot. If you don't know what a Lambfoot is, a Lambfoot's a more traditional English blade shape. It wasn't really a prevalent blade shape in the United States ever, really. Great Eastern Cutlery made a Lambfoot knife a few years ago in 2019, and I think that kind of got a lot of our eyes on the blade shape. But basically, a lamb foot is like a sheep's foot, except for the fact that the blade tapers down instead of remaining like parallel. I can't pronounce parallel. Um, it tapers down instead of remaining the same distance apart. The blade. I'm not doing a very good job of explaining this, but the blade tapers towards the tip, and then it comes down like a sheep's foot. So that's what a lamb foot blade is. This knife is an ebony, as is this knife. This knife's ebony is a little bit more interesting because it's got some like brown hues in it, stuff on the one side, which is kind of neat. I do have a super glue spot there that I never uh, touched up. A lot of times I'll take like a sanding disc on a Dremel and kind of carefully work the excess glue away on wooden handled knives anyway. But anyway, getting back to this knife, Lambfoot blade, C70, I think it's C70 carbon steel. I don't think it's C75, although I'm not sure. So it's like C70 carbon steel. Love carbon steel, as most of you know. Nickel silver bolsters, which is cool. I think, yeah, you can see the outline of a pin right there. And I didn't do anything to this knife because it didn't come with any blade play. But yeah, so the pin's sticking out a little bit. Not the end of the world or anything, but it is a little finishing issue. Pins are smooth and everything. They're brass. Knives fit together pretty well. No huge gaps or anything between the liners and the back spring. Maybe some slight ones. I don't know if they're really gaps though. Maybe right there, there's a slight gap. It's got some stuff on the brass liner there. It's probably just some buffing compound. Um, but yeah, so overall, knives put together really well, fit really well. Finishing could be a little bit better, but this is like a $40 pocket knife, and you're already above like WRK and Son and Baron Son, and in my mind, this is really a higher quality knife for the price that you're paying for it than a lot of knives are, and a lot of like even $60 knives are, just because it's really, they're all fairly well made. All these Arthur Wright and Son knives. Now, occasionally they do have little issues where they'll have like pin cracks or, those kinds of things. But generally speaking, I consider this to be like your working man's knife. In other words, you can go out there and you can drop $40 on this pocket knife, and this pocket knife will last you decades without having to replace it. Um, and that's kind of what a pocket knife is supposed to be before all of us weirdos started collecting hundreds of them and showing them to everybody on the internet. Um, so, this is more of like what the pocket knife is supposed to be in my mind, where it's a more affordable thing that will last you forever, essentially. And you just take it out and use it when you need it. Um, but I really like these Arthur Wright and Sons knives because they're all like that, where they're all well made enough that I feel like it's going to last essentially forever. But they're not perfect, but they're also like less than $50, a lot of them. Less than 60, certainly less than 70. If you want to get stag or something, then you're talking, closer to $70. Um, and if you want filed back springs, which I don't really understand why you would want that, but some people like that. Those are more expensive because obviously that's a lot more work. But just these standard knives, they're not very expensive. And especially over here in the States, I mean, to get it shipped across the Atlantic Ocean and, taken to wherever the distributor is, to wherever Mr. James is. I think he's in the Pacific Northwest somewhere, if I remember correctly. Um, but just to do all that and then buy the knife for less than $40 is really impressive. Um, so yeah, I will continue to buy Arthur Wright and Sons pocket knives as long as I can get my hands on them. I still want one of those single-bladed jackknives that have the spear blade, but I haven't had the opportunity to buy one of them yet. Um, so maybe someday. But I have a two-bladed jackknife with the spear blade, which is similar. I have many of these Barlows now in all sorts of different handle configurations and blade shapes and all sorts of nonsense. And I really like these knives. They're just nice for the price that you pay. If you, and I will say this because I can, but if you're somebody who really likes pocket knives, you can't afford something like this, which is a Great Eastern Cutlery. This one's the 13 whip. If you can't afford something like that, or you can't find it, which is the problem with Great Eastern Cutlery a lot of the times nowadays, something like this is a really good feeling for how a pocket knife should be in my mind. Now, that being said, you're not going to get the high standards of fit and finish that you get with Great Eastern Cutlery. There may be some small issues, but once again, it seems like these knives are built to last forever. So it's just such a good deal is really the thing. Like, you spend less than $40 on a knife that like is going to last essentially forever. I feel like I've said that like 10 times now, so I'm going to stop saying it. I'm tired. I worked last night. I didn't sleep yet. So you'll have to excuse my random babbling if it's any more than usual. Um, but yeah, knife, the action on the knife is really good. Well, it's a little bit lighter on opening, which might sound like a bad thing, but with these knives, um, it's honestly probably good. It's a little lighter on opening because some of these are like really hard to get open because I guess he uses such strong back springs. But this one has really good action, good snap, smooth, back spring will keep the blade open, no problem. Um, but it's a lot easier to open than some of my Arthur Wright & Son knives, which I appreciate because I don't always want to have my fingernail ripped off when that blade finally snaps open. But anyway, the Ebony here, I'll show off the Ebony before I put it before I stop the video. Once again, guys, sorry, I'm tired. Ebony on this looks really good. It's just dark, almost like black, like ebony's supposed to be. Looks really good. And those pins look really good, as you can see there. You might think they look a little misshapen. I think he actually hammers his pins. Ashley Harrison, I think, is the one that makes these a lot of the times. And I think his dad owns the company, and he helps his dad make these knives. At least it seems that way. But I believe these pins are actually hammered because they don't look like they were spun or anything. But anyway, the Ebony looks good. The knife overall looks really good. I'm really pleased with it for, less than $40. And I think that if you were looking for a good pocket knife, this is a really good place to start. And again, that's James and Company over on AAPK, either .com or .net. I don't remember. But that's going to be it for this video before I babble on more and more about how this is such a great deal and everything. I will see you guys in the next video, and I hope you have a good day.